The Locked On Podcast Network presents the NBA Big 3 in 30. The three biggest stories in the NBA from our local experts at the Locked On Podcast Network. We bring you the real story, why it matters, what's next, who wins the big game, and more, all in 30 minutes. The NBA Big 3 in 30 starts now with the biggest story in the NBA.
Mikal Bridges has re-signed with the Knicks on a 4-year, $150 million extension.
You are Locked On Knicks, your daily New York Knicks podcast.
Mikal Bridges' extension, 4 years, $150 million, right at the end of July. So free agency month ends with a bang for the Knicks, I guess. They just had to sneak one more in there right before August. 4-year, $150 million extension. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about what it means for Mitchell Robinson and his potential future with the Knicks, considering he also is extension eligible and is in a similar situation to what Bridges is in what Bridges was in, with a contract that is set to expire at the end of this year. And then talk about a little more free agent chatter. Ben Simmons apparently still on the Knicks radar and someone that they're keeping tabs on potentially for that last roster spot. So talk about him versus the potential incumbent bringing back Landry Shamet and all that in towards the end of the show. But first, I want to thank you all for making Locked On Knicks first listen today and every day, whether you're checking us out on your favorite podcast platform or taking in the sights and sounds on YouTube. We appreciate you making us part of your daily routine. Make sure you hit the auto download function on your favorite podcast app or the notification bell on YouTube so you never miss an episode. All right, so the news, big news, first reported by Shams Charania on Thursday. From ESPN, New York Knicks forward Mikal Bridges has agreed to a 4-year, $150 million contract extension with the franchise. His agents Sam Goldfeder and Jordan Gertler of Excel Sports Management told ESPN's Shams Charania. Deal includes a player option for 2029 to 30 and a trade kicker. He's ineligible to be traded for 6 months after signing the extension, which, for those of you keeping track at home, puts that date at January 31st. 2026, which is about a week before the trade deadline. So maybe worth keeping an eye on there. The deal also is a slight discount. So he took a little less than what he could have on a max extension, which his max number was $156 million. Apparently the starting number for this deal is $33.48 million for the first year, and then it will scale up from there, with raises each year through the 4 years, eventually paying him over $40 million by the end of the deal if he picks up his final year player option. But he also, very similar to what Jalen Brunson did last year, left a good deal of money on the table by taking this extension now versus waiting for unrestricted free agency in this coming offseason. Now, this coming offseason was going to be one where more teams had financial flexibility than the past couple years, and some teams are definitely squaring themselves up to be able to actually enter free agency and make a bit of a splash next year. But the Knicks managed to lock down Mikal Bridges. They don't even have the possibility of some team swooping in with a giant Godfather offer to take Mikal Bridges away, because he was willing to take his extension and less than his max extension even. I mean, if you look at it just in terms of pure first year salary, he's going to be making about $6 million less in his first year of his new deal than even OG Anunoby did this past year when he signed his new contract. So something that I would say is somewhat commendable for Mikal Bridges. I mean, he's obviously still going to make $150 million roughly, or at least 100 or so, a little over 100 if he turns down that final year player option. But I think pretty good stuff again from the Leon Rose front office. They keep some flexibility. I'll talk more about the cap implications when we get into it in the next segment here and what it might mean for Mitchell Robinson. But just in terms of pure value on the deal and everything, it means he retains his final year for this year, which was going to happen regardless, but he only makes $25 million this next year, then 33.5 the year after that, 36 the year after that, and then it'll scale up those next 2 years to get him around like $40 million, or a little over 40 for that final season. So it's, I think, a good deal. I think people have to readjust their expectations. I've seen certain people that I would expect to know better on like Twitter and whatever, going on about like, I don't understand how this is a good deal. Whatever. He's making $30 million. It's like, well, yeah, everything is relative now. It's so anyone that's listening that looked at this deal and their eyes popped out of their head being like, you mean they gave Mikal Bridges 50 million more than they gave Amari Stoudemire or whatever? Yes. In fact, they did, because that's just what the numbers are now. That's just how the salary cap works in the current NBA. The actual raw salary cap number is 155 million this year. Next year, it projects to be probably 165 million. And then the year after that, it projects to potentially be 187 million. Those are all numbers per ESPN's Bobby Marks, who shared some of the data that I'll be citing with the more cap breakdown. But just in terms of pure dollars and cents, it's a good deal. It's a good deal for a starting caliber player. Say whatever you want about, his performance last year, but he was definitely starting caliber. He had his ups and downs. I think that with a coach that utilizes him a little better on both ends of the floor, hopefully he'll make more of an impact this next year if he's allowed to go back to being more of an off-ball defender at times, if he's worked into the offense a little more creatively than he was under Tibbs. I think there's a chance that starting this next year, before this extension even kicks in, we go, hey, that was a good extension. Like this guy is going to hold up. He's going to be good. Like, I think that his game, there's going to be some things that change with age, and he might have to consider possibly derailing the Iron Man streak at a certain point and saying, you know what, I think I'm okay with how many consecutive games played I've played, and maybe I could take one off now for maintenance every once in a while just to recharge his body. But other than that, I don't see any reason to think that he's going to, potentially fall off a cliff or something in the next 3-4 years when this extension really is relevant. So I think kudos to the Knicks, kudos to Leon Rose.
Ever wished managing your money felt easier? With Monarch Money, it can. Whether you're growing your savings or planning a big purchase, Monarch puts you in the driver's seat. It's like having your own personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money is more than a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place. So in addition to managing your money, you're also building wealth. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year.
The Jonathan Kuminga rumors just will not die.
You are Locked On Suns, your daily Phoenix Suns podcast.
Jonathan Kuminga rumors last Sunday, Jonathan Kuminga rumors today. You guys don't even have to work for when you guys are on the show. We're just coming up with it on the fly. Appreciate you taking time, man. Before we get into the Jonathan Kuminga rumors, I'm kind of taking an assessment from each, staff writer from a certain organization or people on Twitter. Before we dive into the rumors that are hot and heavy on Jonathan Kuminga to potentially the Phoenix Suns, break it down for me, man. You don't have to tell me if you want it to happen. If you don't want it to happen, you can if you want to. However, what do you think of Kuminga's fit in Phoenix? Just people know how I feel. It feels like it's a heat check grab, meaning the Suns have hit a lot of three-pointers in a row with making chicken salad out of chicken bleep this offseason and constructing a pretty good roster. It feels like they need to know when to say no, unless, of course, we'll get into the reports. He might be had for cheaper than we thought, but it just doesn't feel like it's a great fit for the Suns. Where are you at, man?
Yeah, I think the fan base is truly kind of 50-50 on this. And I think kind of in my assessment of it as well, I ultimately am as well. When looking at Jonathan Kuminga, I think the fit personally isn't the best, like you really highlighted. He's going to be coming into this team already into a little bit of a crowded wing room with young guys like Rasheer Fleming, who's looking to develop, potentially Oso Godaro, Ryan Dunn, Dylan Brooks, the potential of running those double bigs, and that could hinder some of his development time. But also, if he is going to be coming in and the Suns are going to be running this two playmaking guard, offensive style with Jalen Green and Devin Booker, what does that mean for Jonathan Kuminga on the ball? I know a lot of the concerns with him and Jimmy Butler in Golden State with the fit is that they play very similarly, where both guys kind of need the ball in their hands to kind of run through that offense. And he hasn't been able to flourish over in Golden State because of that and really been to blossom within Steve Kerr. And I don't know if necessarily he's going to be able to do that same thing, because a lot of people have looked at, especially you as well, who've discussed this, his shooting percentages aren't that great the past couple of seasons. And that's going to be something where if he is playing off the ball or is playing in a little bit of a role like that, where Devin Booker and Jalen Green, or who's the so-called point guard of this roster, is going to be taking those commands and be initiating this offense, Jonathan Kuminga might not have as much control in that. So ultimately, I don't necessarily know if the fit is the best thing, but it all depends for me for the price tag, because I think if the Suns are able to get Jonathan Kuminga for the right price tag, then it ultimately could benefit them better than the fit, as their long-term plans that they could use Kuminga's contract down the line could also give them a better spot at outlook.
You know, it's a good transition to what we want to talk about. It was initially this morning, Shams Charania put out the tweet, Jonathan Kuminga and the Warriors are at ends when it comes to a deal. Golden State made a renewed push to retain Jonathan Kuminga per Shams Charania, but the restricted free agent continues to decline a 2-year, $45 million offer to the Warriors, insistent on a team option and waiving a built-in no-trade clause, sources tell ESPN. So basically saying the Warriors aren't getting, it feels like to me, let me tell you what this thinks to me, is it feels like the Warriors aren't getting the offers, clearly, that they want for Jonathan Kuminga. And just so we're clear, the Warriors asking price is a little insane. However, you ask for the moon and the stars, and you settle on Stardust is where it kind of lands for me. But when I see them saying, listen, they're trying to extend a handout to Jonathan Kuminga, we want you on a 2-year, $45 million deal, it feels a little bit like a slap in the face. If you're Jonathan Kuminga, this is someone who at minimum's got $22.50. It seems like from the reporting that we've seen a year from both the Kings and the Suns, and they're asking him to take basically half that guaranteed money over 2 years. How much? If let me just say this. We don't have to go into if he's going to be a Phoenix Sun, but is he going to be a Golden State Warrior? Do you think there's a world where they can put the toothpaste back in the tube with how kind of toxic it's been with the Jonathan Kuminga front? I haven't even seen this with Josh Giddey. Where are you at in that? How much leverage do the Warriors really have in all this?
So I think the Warriors have the most leverage, and I think that he will most likely be back just for the sheer factor that he is willing to go back on that qualifying offer that they already offered him to have that opportunity to become an unrestricted free agent next year and kind of bank on himself. Now, personally, I think kind of similar to the Kevin Durant situation last offseason when they tried to get rid of him, they might be seeing some of that same resemblance with Jonathan Kuminga. So maybe kind of getting out of it ahead so you kind of can get the best value possible for him, even if it's not that shining star that they thought they could have gotten, because you mentioned he was in packages last summer with Podziemski for guys like Lauri Markkanen, and I think they feel like they can get a star level type player like that with other assets for a guy in Jonathan Kuminga. And I think that's why they've been so reluctant to kind of get rid of him in that kind of space. But I do think the Warriors would rather have Jonathan Kuminga back on that contract. You mentioned that 2-year, $45 million deal. The reporting from Shams Charania was a little bit weird because he wrote in that article that the Suns were offering $70 million more, and that might make you think oh, what is this bogus Suns front office doing again? Why are they writing the Suns wrong? But that contract was basically a 1-year, $22 million deal, the second year being a team option, in which Jonathan Kuminga would either get traded to that season next year at the deadline and sign the extension with that team the next offseason, or would the team would decline that option and he would get that opportunity. So I think that wording was a little bit weird there as well.
It's also just basic math. When I saw that as well in the report where it was Suns are offering, I think it was exactly $60 million more than the Golden State Warriors in any deal. It's guys, yeah, of course it's going to be that much. Did you see how much the Warriors were offering him? And then eventually it came out, well, the Suns got a deal on the table for 4 years, $90 million, if I'm doing my math correctly, $22.5 million average annual value. I mean, we're getting ahead of ourselves here, but that is exactly what you would do for Kuminga. That changes everything. Before we get into the other reporting, I'm not exactly sure what Jonathan Kuminga's value is. Like, we'll get to Brett Siegel's reporting and we'll get to Mark Spears' reporting on the other side of the break, but what exactly are the Warriors expecting to get back for Kuminga? I understand there are Suns fans out there. Like, I read a tweet today, and I can't remember who I saw it from, but it was basically saying, like, Suns fans must hate scorers. And I was like, what? Jonathan Kuminga is an inefficient scorer. Like, the reason why there's a clear line about if you want Jonathan Kuminga on the Suns is there's a clear risk reward. There's a massive risk in giving Jonathan Kuminga a 4 years, $120 million deal, 4 years, $100 million deal. There is some risk there. Even the $90 million, it's less of a risk. It's a tradable contract, but there's still risk in it. The guy has not shown the ability to shoot the ball efficiently from the field. He hasn't been someone who has been known as a defensive prowess guy. He gets to the rim pretty well. He does not necessarily finishes around the rim at like an elite level. And you see the raw talent, and you can say he was probably misused in Golden State. But that's not an obvious thing. So when I see some of the reporting today of what the Suns could potentially give up, or the things that we've talked about, Oso and Grayson Allen, it's like, I don't know how much more you're going to get. They think they're going to get for Kuminga because of the fact that you also have to pay him. Really quickly, and then we'll go to break here. What do you think his value is?
So it's really tough with all the RFAs, like you mentioned. They all have like a weird estimated value because they want the most. And I kind of view the contract of the $30 million that they're seeking kind of like a superstar trying to chase that $50 million contract a couple of seasons ago, where teams are very weary on giving that kind of unproven player that kind of $30 million deal, similar to that Jalen Green contract that some Suns fans were worried on kind of getting. I would say Kuminga's value for me is around that $20 to $25 million range. 22 was where I said was kind of my max. I felt very comfortable with that. But I think his value across the league is probably someone that has some untapped potential to be that third star, maybe second star. But that's where I kind of see him.
You see Kuminga. I mean, I want to go to break here, and I will in a second. But you see Kuminga with the potential of being a third star on a championship-winning team.
I think there's the possibility of him rising.
I'm not saying, and just so we're clear, I'm not saying that you're saying that that's what he's going to become. You're saying you see the potential of that. Because honestly, man, I see Kuminga at his best as a 4, but I'll let you continue with what you're saying. Sorry.
So I'll preface this too. I'm always very high on potential as well with guys. I'm kind of give the guy 2 or 3 opportunities to see where he pans out before I really fully make an estimation. With the seeing the ability of the OTE, G League Ignite guys, the kind of variance of them has been, high and low, with looking at guys like Amon Thompson and Asor Thompson, and then looking at Buzelis and Ron Holland. It can really go either way. So with Kuminga, he kind of falls into that pool. But I just going off the untapped potential, I could still see that, because I think, like you mentioned, the Warriors haven't given him that best opportunity yet. And I think if he found an opportunity where he could maybe thrive, he could become a little bit more of an efficient player for them.
Gametime makes getting concert tickets faster and easier than ever. Prices actually drop the closer it gets to showtime, and you can save up to 60% with their killer last-minute deals. With Gametime, the price you see is the price you pay, no hidden fees. Plus, take the guesswork out of buying tickets with views from the seat, a panoramic view. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, the lowest price guaranteed.
We're talking all about Jimmy Butler, the scoring help. When Butler just inevitably misses some games, the most improved player for the Golden State Warriors. I want to hear your comments on who that will be this upcoming season. Then I want to talk some Will Richard. I really like him. I think he's going to play from, if not day 1, month 2. I think he's going to play pretty early for this team. He looks like a nice pickup for sure. Anyways, Mark Spears recently saw Gary Payton II, and he asked GP2, hey, how's Warriors free agency looking? You going to be a Golden State Warrior? Peyton's response, waiting on JK. We're all waiting on Jonathan Kuminga at this point. And does it get to the point where the Golden State Warriors would tell Kuminga, like, all right, if you're going to take the qualifying offer, do it now so we could speed up our offseason. If not, we're taking away $500,000 every day off that $22.5 million deal that you had if you want to play that game. And then that forces him to kind of take the qualifying offer. And if he wants to wait, he wants to wait. I don't know. It's a lose-lose situation for both sides. We've talked all about it. Pretty brutal. It's just a brutal conversation in general. And the worst part about it for Golden State is that Kuminga can score. We're not denying that. The dude could put the ball in the basket. He helps you. Sure, he helps you. No doubt. And I think the hope was that Kuminga was going to play ball with the Warriors and that they could convince him on a $22.5, $23, $25 million deal, whatever it is. They could convince him on this deal. They could win some games with him early in the season, using his offense, showcasing his value. Steve Kerr has said that they would give him the run with Jimmy, with Draymond, and Steph, and to all the people out there that say, we don't believe him anymore. I believe him, mainly because they need his value to be high. It does not hurt to have a good JK that you can trade for fair value, contract to contract, and receive someone that is making $23 million or someone like that at the deadline. Because if not, you lack scoring. The Warriors do lack scoring. Now, they won plenty of games last season when it mattered most without Kuminga. Kuminga was irrelevant in the Houston Rockets series. A 2 seed in Golden State defeated them. So can they be effective without JK? Sure. What, 23-8 with Jimmy Butler? I know JK was involved in some of those games, but I think it was 15-1. They started off when Butler was added to the fold and JK was injured. So they can win games. They were top 5 defensive efficiency, top 5 offensive efficiency. Here's the issue. Jimmy Butler's not going to play every game in the regular season. Not going to play every single game in the regular season. And if Jimmy goes down in these load management games and just games where he doesn't feel like putting up more than 6 shots in a contest, because that's just what he does for whatever reason, and you don't have Kuminga, let's say because he takes the qualifying offer and he's just not, he doesn't want to be there. He wants, his head's in Sacramento. And you're not going to play someone that doesn't want to be on your team, right? Maybe. I don't know. It seems messy. Can you amend things? We'll see. But there's little supplementary firepower on this team if Jimmy goes down. And Jimmy can put up 30 on a given night. We've seen him from time to time be able to get off 24 field goals and knock down 13 of them. He can get hot from 3. He gets to the line 14 times in a given game sometimes. Like, Jimmy can score. That's your second scorer. The issue is Butler hasn't played more than 70 games since 2017 and hasn't played more than 65 since before the pandemic. And DeAnthony Melton's nice. Al Horford can hit a few threes. But Kuminga can definitely score. And I'd set the over-under on Jimmy Butler games at, I think 56.5 is like a fair number. So that's potentially 27 games if you're taking the over. That's 27 games you're without Jimmy. Who's scoring? We didn't have to witness it much last season. We didn't have to ask that question because he didn't miss many games. We got fresh Jimmy Butler entering the fold, and we got a Jimmy Butler who was determined to help the Warriors get out of the play-in altogether. And it went down to the last game of the regular season. They weren't able to get it done the final moments against the Clippers, but that was their mission. And Jimmy made sure to play a lot of the regular season like his pants were on fire. I mean, he was going harder than he typically does in the regular season and not taking many days off at all. One of the games that we saw him not take off, but have to head to the locker room after, being undercut by Amin Thompson, the Dubs didn't look good at all. And that was a game where Kuminga got in, and obviously the sea legs were under him. He wasn't fresh. He hadn't played in a minute. He was not nearly as good in that game as he was in the Minnesota Timberwolves series. But Butler was very available last season. And maybe it's one of those outliers where he plays 70 games this season. Father Time hasn't caught up to him at all. And last year was more about the whole issue with Miami and not wanting to play as compared to just being fresh. We know he takes care of his body. We know that he's a psycho about staying in shape and really sticking with his offseason regimen. And he'll be coming to camp ready to go. No doubt about it. And let's not forget, Butler was second team All-NBA in 2023. He wasn't even an All-Star in 2023 and was second team All-NBA, which is at this point just a couple of seasons ago. It's not that long ago. The fact that he was second team NBA, not an All-Star, kind of exemplifies what his game is. Not the flashiest player in the world. Not even picked to be on the All-Star team. Yet one of the 10 best players in the NBA. So my question to you, comments, you think he could be a dark horse for like third team All-NBA this season, flirting with an All-Star game? Or do you truly think he's over the other side of the hill and he's still a great player? He's not worth $60 million. He can pop off for 25 plus multiple times in a playoff series, but he's not third team All-NBA material. He's just too old for that time. Because he's had some injuries and then a weird season last year with Miami. But once he came to the Dubs, like, he was awesome. He was phenomenal. Now, there were games, like we said, where he wouldn't look at the basket. He would only take 6 shots, and then he'd follow it up with 18 shots. That the very next game, he'd put up 25, 8, and 7. It is a curious case at times, but that's why you need better shooting around Jimmy Butler, because you know his game, it's not that he doesn't play hard. He's always playing hard. Just sometimes he's passive. But he's smart. And he's going to find the open man. And if Horford's on the team, you add another shooter to the mix. If D'Anthony Melton's healthy, he's consistently in the high 30s, knocking down threes. Seth Curry? Maybe. So we'll see. But that's my question. You think he could be a dark horse to really not even bounce back, because he was awesome last season, but a dark horse to really showcase that just because he's 35 years of age doesn't mean he can't play at the highest level. He's like, hey, last time you saw me fully healthy with the money that I wanted in a full season, I was second team All-NBA. I still got that capability. We'll see.